So whether you're a parent kind of scratching your head because your adult child hasn't reacted well to your decision to remarry,
or if you're an adult child experiencing some tough emotions and struggling to accept your parents' remarriage, this episode really is for both of you. Welcome to the Blended Family Breakthrough Podcast. We're your hosts, Mike and Kim.
we believe in a world where blended families can experience a future full of hope, connection, and peace.
That's why we offer tools, strategies, and guidance that move you from a place of confusion and conflict to experiencing a life of confidence and connection.
We're so glad you're joining us for authentic and sometimes comical conversations as we cover everything from romance to parenting and, yes, even dealing with that difficult ex.
So if you're ready to experience breakthrough in your blended family, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hey, welcome and thanks for joining us today. What a pleasure to have you joining us. We're always so grateful that you choose to spend time with us. Hey, we just recently heard over on Apple Podcasts from, I think, Cherie, saying less than a year into this privileged and also sometimes burdensome role. She's talking about parenting and step-parenting. She says, this show is helping me to ease into my deep, compassionate spaces of my heart for all my children. Ooh. How cool is that?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Absolutely. You know, blended family life is definitely a place where we have to have compassion. And that's true regardless of the age of our kids.
Absolutely.
That's right.
The recoupling or remarriage of a parent affects children of all ages, including those that are no longer children.
That's right.
Older teens, young adults, even older adult children can experience powerful, often mixed emotions when they suddenly become part of a new blended family structure.
That's right.
According to step-family expert Patricia Papernow, waiting until the kids are grown does not protect children as much as we would like. This is because our parents remain part of our identities for life. Even after we're grown, our parents' divorce or remarriage can make us feel as if we've lost our foundation.
Yeah, I kind of get that, actually. Yeah. You know, parents and their new spouse are often kind of stunned and disappointed maybe when an adult child finds it difficult to accept their decision to get involved romantically or to remarry. They might think, well, these adult kids should be able to handle this. Like, what's the issue here? They're off, living their own life. Yeah. What's the big deal to them? So today we just want to explore some of the issues from two unique perspectives: the remarried parent and from the adult child of the remarried parent.
That's right. So whether you're a parent kind of scratching your head because your adult child hasn't reacted well to your decision to remarry,
or if you're an adult child experiencing some tough emotions and struggling to accept your parents' remarriage, this episode really is for both of you. Maybe you could listen to it together.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
So first off, we're going to address the parents who want to help their adult child move to a place of acceptance. But before we dive into a few strategies that might help, let's explore possible reasons why an adult child might be struggling. Because it's so important to be able to put yourself in their shoes and gain empathy around their perspectives.
Yeah, logically thinking, adult kids should be thrilled for the single parent when they find love and happiness, right? I mean, we assume that. But just as with younger children, adults often struggle to cope with some major changes that are taking place in their family. And change often leads to a sense of loss and grief. And so accepting and adjusting to a parent's remarriage isn't always an easy transition. And it's actually pretty common for adult children to experience some actual challenges.
Yeah, absolutely.
Unsettling changes might include the sale of a family home, shifts in family traditions, or a parent choosing to relocate, or maybe their priorities get altered, or their involvement with grandkids starts to get reduced a little bit. Adult children might feel slighted, forgotten, conflicted. They may want good things for their parent, but maybe they feel like the cost is just too great for them and for their siblings and maybe even for their own kids.
Mm-hmm. A woman I know who's in her 60s shared with me the challenges that she's had to face since her mother remarried several years ago, her elderly mother. So although she appreciates her mom's new husband and thinks they're a good match, she has never warmed up to his daughter, her new stepsister.
Okay, yeah. She probably doesn't even think of her as a stepsister.
No,
right?
she does not. Now, as she described to me the stark differences between herself and this stepsister, I pictured the frustration of trying to mix oil and water together. It was so messy. So because of this uneasy step relationship, my friend just dreads family gatherings and holidays, and she struggles to fully embrace her new family structure.
Right.
She's come to realize that things will never be the same as they were before.
Yeah, that's interesting. Stepfamily expert Ron Deal says, never mind that they're adults. This is a hard transition for them because it comes at a great cost. You know, the bottom line is that change is hard, and none of us really like navigating change.
No.
We've noticed that the older kids are, the more opinions they tend to have. So if they're having a hard time and they have more opinions, guess what you're going to experience, right? And often they're pretty passionate about those opinions that they've had. We've coached several parents over the years who have adult kids who were just outraged because their fiance, didn't come to them to ask them for their approval before proposing to their parent, right? Like they have the right of first refusal or something.
I don't know.
Yeah. And the lack of consideration, or this felt lack of consideration for them, kind of left them with some negative beliefs about their parent's new partner.
Right.
And, a parent might not realize how their adult children perceive this situation or what they believe is the right and wrong protocol for them remarrying. This parent who's remarrying that this child deeply is bonded to and really dearly loves.
Right. So gaining insight into the expectations, perspectives, and emotional tensions of adult children can help a parent and their new spouse approach these complex dynamics with compassion and skill. So let's just go a little bit deeper here. One thing we want to understand is that some adult children may revert to more of a childlike posture or become emotionally triggered if they've carried some unresolved wounds or burdens from the past, such as parental allegiances and loyalty binds.
Yeah.
And this can emerge regardless of how their parents were separated, either through divorce or death.
Right.
A parent's remarriage may awaken that old grief and painful feelings from the past, such as anger, regret, injustice, or sadness. All kinds of things can come up for kids.
Yeah, you talk a bit about loyalty binds and parental allegiances there. Loyalty and allegiance can sometimes manifest as deep concern around how their other bio parent might react to the remarriage, right? So if mom's getting remarried, they're wondering, okay, I wonder how dad's going to feel about that.
Right.
If dad's still alive, and especially if the adult child has a really strong connection to dad, they could really be feeling stuck or caught kind of in between that. And the adult child might start to feel protective of that other parent and maybe possibly even take on their emotional struggle as their own, or their perceived emotional struggle as their own. So if the child feels like dad's uncomfortable about mom's remarriage, then they're just not comfortable with it either.
Right.
We're so excited to let you know about something brand new we've created just for you.
We've realized that with so many episodes available here on the show, it might feel a bit overwhelming to find the topics that matter most to you. That's why we've created a simple tool for you to receive a personalized playlist focused on your current struggle or your biggest challenge.
That's right. It's called the Blended Family Breakthrough Quiz. You'll answer just a few questions, and based on your responses, we'll email you a curated custom playlist of episodes that are specific to you.
This simple quiz will direct you to the most impactful episodes that pertain to you personally and keep you on track in your journey of discovery, learning, and growth. So, scroll all the way to the bottom of the show notes for this episode and click the link to take the Blended Family Breakthrough Quiz today.
Okay, let's get back to the discussion.
And as they struggle to find their place within the new family structure, adult children may think of themselves more as a child, especially those that have a really tight bond with their parent. Their parents' new emotional attachment now competes with the old, long-standing ones, causing adult children to become territorial, insecure, or feel they've been abandoned.
Yeah. I mean, adult children are dealing with a lot of these emotions just like young children do when they're in the house. We had an adult daughter once reach out to us for some help because she was really struggling with her mom's remarriage. She and her mom had a super close bond. They established patterns of spending quality time together. Mom would come and visit her family regularly, and they'd stay up all night connecting. But after the remarriage, Mom's visits were less frequent because of her new husband, and he had several adult kids as well, and so they did quite a bit of traveling to spend time with them also.
Right. Mom's time was now split between this other set of kids.
That's right.
And you know, this daughter was happy for her mom, and she had no negative feelings towards the new husband, but she was grieving.
Yeah.
She was losing out on meaningful time and connection with her mom. And she described mom as her best friend. So it kind of felt to her like she was losing her best friend. When mom did come for a visit, she brought her new husband along, which changed the dynamics and the routine this daughter had come to cherish.
Right.
No more late night chats with just the two of them. So this daughter was hurting because she felt displaced in her mom's life. And at the same time, she felt selfish knowing that mom was happy and thriving in her new marriage. There was some mixed emotions.
Yeah, it's hard. She wants good things for mom, but at the same time, she's grieving the loss of what was.
The cost is high for her.
Absolutely. Parents, you might not be prepared for the objections that come from an adult child. We've heard lots of parents get blindsided by this. But with some empathy and intentional action and a lot of patience, adult children can soften up and family bonds can be protected. So let's just kind of touch down on a few strategies that might be helpful. One thing we can do is acknowledge and accept that your remarriage is going to shake the family's identity. It's going to mean change. This might create some legitimate feelings of discomfort or loss or fear, rejection, and other conflicting emotions from your grown children. So don't be surprised by their strong reactions. Instead, you want to kind of choose some empathy. You want to choose understanding, and you want to be really intentional and patient through those conversations.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, before and after the wedding, biological parents should spend time with their adult children alone. We know it's hard because you want your new person to get to know your kids, but the kids really need that one-on-one time. This will help to maintain family bonds without the constant sacrifice of having to share a parent. Even adult children really need that one-on-one connection time with their parent, especially now.
And that doesn't mean the new spouse never comes along to anything.
No.
It just means let's be intentional about getting some good quality connection time with those adult kids without that step parent. And hey, if you're the new incoming spouse, allow for that. Give the freedom to do that. Things will go better for you.
Yeah, that's a gift you can give.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
You know, another thing we can do is just listen to our adult children and not dismiss, judge, or disapprove of their concerns, even if you feel their behavior is a bit immature and you don't agree with their perspective. You can still stay curious as you just allow them to share what's going on for them. It's good for them to just get it up and out sometimes in a respectful manner. Let's be aware of that. but we want to be sure to offer them some empathy and some validation for their experience. You can acknowledge without agreeing.
Yep.
You can do that. And if you're able to engage in kind of what we would call an emotion coaching conversation, like we were talking about a couple of weeks ago here on the show, that kind of interaction can really make a big difference. So you might want to go back and check out that mini series.
Yeah, and steer clear of taking a defensive approach when your kids are sharing what's going on for them.
Yeah.
That
Absolutely.
can stir things up.
That's just about true in any setting, on any subject with our adult kids. Yeah.
Don't get defensive or critical.
That's right.
All right.
What else can we do?
Another thing we can do is be open to opportunities that bring about restoration and healing in your relationship with your adult child.
Yeah.
You know, resurrected pain and unresolved issues from the past need to be processed. Forgiveness may need to be granted or sought.
Yeah.
If relational repair work needs to be done between parent and child, move forward with compassion and respect. And you might consider working with a family therapist or a coach.
Absolutely. If they're willing, that's a great opportunity to repair a relationship or rebuild whatever is whatever we're struggling around. Yeah. Okay. Step parent. So new incoming step parent. And you might not be called a step parent, by the way.
Right.
You might be, mom's new husband,
Joe.
or Joe, or dad's new wife.
Yeah, that's
But
okay.
whatever you're referred to, try not to start enforcing boundaries or attempting to push your way in. Okay. Instead, what we want to do is try to let the adult child set a reasonable pace with our relationship and strive for some genuine connection through just simple friendship.
Yeah.
We want to meet them where they are, and we still want to apply what we call the old crock pot patience as you slowly begin working toward developing a new family identity. Ron Deal has this great analogy of a crock pot. And if you're not aware of that approach to blended family life, we'll put a link in the show notes to an episode called The Best Way to Create Healthy Bonded Relationships, which is all about applying the crockpot approach. And that's not just when kids are in the home. This is true for adult kids as well. It's going to take time with low heat and low pressure. Yeah.
We interviewed a blended couple, Steve and Jan, a while back. And when they married, Steve had several adult kids who didn't readily accept Jan.
Yeah.
They were pretty guarded.
Yep.
But Jan did a great job with this crockpot strategy. As much as she wanted to be part of Steve's kids' lives and form bonds with them, she allowed each child to set the pace in their relationship. And her patience really did pay off. And if you want to listen to our interview with Steve and Jan and hear more about how she was able to do that, we'll put a link in the show notes for episode 140, Blending with Adult Children, One Couple Story of Heartache and Triumph.
That's such a good discussion. And
It
boy,
is.
Jan really did employ a lot of patience.
Yeah,
And I think over time, patience wins the day.
it does.
It really does. And we've seen parents resist these strategies simply because they didn't think it was necessary to consider their adult children. And we're just moving on and they've got their own lives, right? Or they have this thought of, we shouldn't have to plan our life around the opinions of our grown kids. Well, I agree. You don't have to necessarily plan your life around their opinions, but at the same time, we need to understand their perspectives, and we're going to get a heck of a lot more connection growing when we move toward them and try to understand their perspectives than we are if we're just stiff-arming them.
Right.
Unfortunately, those kinds of attitudes inevitably end up leading to resentments and frayed relationships and really heartache on both sides. But it doesn't have to be that way. So we just want to encourage you to put in the effort to apply some of these strategies. Just do simple things, simple discussions where you're staying out of judgment and you're staying curious. And then you might find that connection actually starts to emerge.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we encourage you to continue to learn about step-family dynamics, and we'll put a link in the show notes to an episode that might be really helpful, episode 118, called Meaningful Insight and Practical Strategies to Help Your Blended Family Navigate holiday challenges.
Yeah, this
which
was a good
the
one.
holidays are coming up.
That's right.
But in this episode, we interview an amazing mother and daughter, adult daughter, who have been navigating these dynamics for years. And the daughter, Lauren Reitzema, wrote a book called In Their Shoes, which is a great resource for any parent who wants to understand the impact of divorce and remarriage from their child's perspective, regardless of their child's age.
Absolutely. I would definitely check out the resources in the show notes to continue learning because there's so much to learn here. And, if you need help along the way, we'd be happy to help. Just click the link in the show notes to schedule a free coaching call. Your intentional efforts to gain understanding and apply some of these strategies are positively going to impact the trajectory of your family's future. You really want to do that.
Yeah. Okay, let's switch gears a bit and focus on the perspective of the adult child who's struggling with their parents' remarriage, because we'd like to offer you a few mindset shifts and practical strategies as well if you're the adult child.
Sure.
Now, Mike and I were recently having dinner with some friends of ours, Bryce and Denise. We have changed their names to protect the innocent.
Maybe the guilty. We'll see. Yeah.
But Bryce and Denise each have parents that have remarried later in life after their spouses had passed away. Bryce's mom recently remarried, but Denise's dad has been remarried for many years. So while enjoying a meal together, we decided to pick their brain and just ask a few direct questions about their experience as adult children with remarried parents. And we're just going to share what they shared with us because it was so insightful and so real. Yeah. And we noticed that there were a few themes that emerged as their stories unfolded that came up. Yeah. So let's just talk about these themes.
Yeah. I think the theme, one of the themes that stuck out to me is that you've got to prepare yourself for change. As we were talking, one of the things Denise shared is I realize now that I had some unrealistic expectations that my new stepmom would be generous and engaged with our family and my kids. So Denise's bio mom and dad often lavished things on their grandkids with thoughtful gifts, lots of attention. There was a big focus on her kids. And following her mom's death, her dad really went through a period of mourning and disengaged for a while, which is understandable.
Sure.
But then after he remarried, Denise was kind of expecting her dad and new stepmom to pick up where things had left off, but that just wasn't the case. And so she shared with us some things that were kind of along this line. She's like, it's been years now, but it sometimes still hurts my feelings when they don't acknowledge things like my kids' birthdays. Everything is just so different now, and I feel like my kids get gypped. They're missing out on a lot of things, right? And maybe grandma was the one really focused on that stuff, and grandpa didn't have a system for remembering those things.
All the dynamics have shifted.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anytime a family blends, regardless of the dynamics, you can count on one thing. There will be change.
Yeah.
Hand in hand with change comes loss and grief, which can often stir up feelings of resentment, fear, isolation, or displacement, or other things.
Right.
Adult children need to anticipate the changes ahead and the inevitable feelings of loss. When the remarriage is a result of divorce, there will be significant shifts, loyalty issues, jealousies, role confusion, and family tensions to navigate. All of this can shake the family's identity and disrupt the status quo, especially if there are new step siblings now that are part of the family story.
A lot of people who are getting remarried later in life, they are shocked by their adult kids' responses, but I think a lot of the kids are shocked by their own responses. Like sometimes we're surprised. My dad remarried again later in life, and I was surprised sometimes by some of the feelings that I had about that and some of the concerns that I had about that along the way.
Yeah, and you have a stepsister from his second wife prior who's really shooken up by this new remarriage. She's really struggling. So
That's right. Yeah. Just because kids are adults doesn't mean they won't be impacted.
Yeah.
Okay. So We're out to dinner with Bryce and Denise. We're picking up on these themes. The second theme that we realized throughout this conversation was that adult kids need to figure out how to ditch the scorecard. And Bryce shared something along these lines. Hey, I've noticed that my stepdad's children, so Bryce's adult step siblings.
Right.
we need a map. Right?
We're using the word steps here, but I don't know that they refer to each other like that.
That's right. But he said, hey, I've noticed that they keep track of all kinds of things, like how much money their dad spends on my mom, who they spend time visiting, stuff like that. And so I've just decided not to keep a scorecard. As long as my mom is happy, I'm just not going to worry about those kinds of things. See, early on, Bryce actually chose to trust his mom's judgment. He doesn't engage in the drama that pops up. Instead, he simply allows his mom to live life with her new husband, regardless of the decisions that they make and how those decisions might even impact him. And for most of us, this is definitely easier said than done.
Oh, yeah.
Bryce seems to be a little bit of an exception here because it's hard to fend off feelings of resentment when it feels like your parent has a new priority that doesn't seem to consider your needs or your thoughts or your perspectives. Or even when you believe that maybe your inheritance is being spent on that new spouse or on their kids.
Yeah.
That's tough stuff.
Yeah, that is. Ditching the scorecard might be difficult, but it can also be freeing. Right away, Bryce was able to release control over the situation, a situation that in reality he has no control over.
Yeah.
And this has turned out to be a healthy approach for him. And we can all benefit from his example.
I agree.
Attempting to control how a parent chooses to spend their time and money will most likely increase the tensions and cause damage in your relationship with them.
Yeah.
Instead, choose to view the situation from a different lens, which is the third theme that emerged from this conversation.
Yeah. The third theme is just to focus on the big picture. When we asked Bryce how he was able to ditch the scorecard and not harbor resentment, he said it was really helpful for him to just stay focused on the bigger perspective. See, Bryce realized that his mom deserves to enjoy this season of her life. For many years, she worked hard to ensure that Bryce and his siblings had a good and stable upbringing. She's really sacrificed for them and supported them through all of life's ups and downs. And so Bryce understands that this current situation isn't really about him. It's about supporting his mom and choosing to make sacrifices on her behalf. He accepts whatever his mom and stepdad are able to give, and he just stays focused on the big picture. Bryce trusts his mom and truly wants her to enjoy life with her new husband. So, if you're in a situation like Bryce and you're grieving some lost time with your parent, what you can do is just ask. Ask them for what you need. They may not be able to give it to you in the same amount or in the exact same way that you enjoyed in the past, but even a regularly scheduled phone call or FaceTime can help you create this feeling of connection. And that's just another little drop in the overall big picture.
That's right. And last, but certainly not least, process through your difficult emotions. It was really interesting to see the difference in how Bryce and Denise experienced each of their parents' remarriages. This is typical among others that we've talked to as well.
Yeah.
Emotions will vary, even within the same family of origin.
Absolutely.
Some adult children struggle to find their place within the new family structure, and others tend to be more detached from the situation, simply accepting it for what it is and going along.
Yeah.
Those that are especially close to a parent may experience conflicting emotions. They want their parent to be happy, yet feel they must now compete with their parent's new spouse and their growing emotional attachments there.
Right.
This can cause adult children to become territorial, insecure, or overly protective. They might be fearful of how their relationship with their parent and that of their family will be impacted.
Yeah, they probably are. There's a lot of fear that comes with these shifting dynamics and all these changes that come. You know, a few minutes ago, we shared about an adult daughter dealing with some mixed emotions and a lot of grief and loss after her mom's remarriage. In our discussion with her, we helped her to think about what a conversation with her mom might sound like. We encouraged her to share her emotions without casting blame or getting critical toward her mom and her mom's new husband. As she identified what she really needed from her mom, which was just one-on-one time, we challenged her to directly and respectfully ask mom what it would look like for her to come for a visit on her own without bringing her new husband. And we encouraged her to express how that would make her feel valued and secure in their relationship. Because this daughter and her mom had enjoyed a pretty close relationship for many years, we speculated that mom would probably be willing to listen to her and to maybe make some efforts to meet these needs for one-on-one time.
Mm-hmm. The painful emotions that adult children experience are valid, and they'll need a safe space to process through their discomfort and express what's going on inside.
Mm-hmm.
So if you found yourself in that position as an adult child, and your parent isn't able to listen as you share your emotions, then talking with a trusted friend, spouse, coach, or counselor can be so beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
But don't let difficult emotions build up or go unresolved.
Yeah.
Owning your true feelings and allowing yourself to grieve will alleviate tensions and help you to move towards acceptance. But it's going to take some time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, at that dinner, Denise also expressed a lot of love and appreciation for her stepmom.
Mm-hmm.
She's moved beyond some of that disappointment and the grief to embrace her stepmom and even her step siblings, but it didn't happen overnight.
No.
And Bryce shared that he's been purposely trying to take advantage of opportunities to get to know his mom's husband and his mom's new husband's kids as well.
Right. He's been trying to connect with them.
Yeah. So we can learn a little bit here from Bryce and Denise.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, we want to be patient with ourselves and everyone else who's in this blended family story. Anticipate the big changes ahead, ditch the scorecard, open yourself up so that you can see the bigger picture. And as you take things slow and process your own emotions along the way, you might end up discovering a bigger blended family experience that's worthwhile and meaningful.
Mm-hmm. Here's the bottom line. Regardless of the dynamics, both parents and adult children will benefit from taking things slow and keeping pressure low.
Hey, that rhymed. That was good.
This will help everyone develop realistic expectations and gently ease into the new family structure at their own pace.
That's right.
Time and patience will naturally open up opportunities for relationships to gradually develop as those heightened emotions begin to fade.
Yeah.
This process is not a quick sprint or a microwave meal.
That's right.
It's a marathon that will hopefully and eventually lead to a unique crock-pot feast for everyone.
That's right. Hey, hopefully this discussion's been helpful for both parents and adult children who want to stay connected in the midst of challenging changes and emerging emotions. So again, if you do need some help, maybe just talking through some of this, don't be afraid to reach out. We're here to help if you need it.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, if you haven't already found a Blended Family Breakthrough over on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, we would so appreciate you hopping over and just following us and connecting with us over there. Well, I think that's going to make this episode a wrap.
Until next time.